Welcome to my world. Come on in and make yourselves at home. Welcome to my life. I know everything's gonna be all right. Welcome to my world. Oh, won't you come on in? Welcome to my life. It's known as the Tiger's Den. Greetings to all of my subscribers. I want to thank you for being with me for as long as you have, and the new subscribers that's coming on in. We want to say greetings and thank you for your time. This is from Toothless and the moderators. Welcome to the Tiger's Den. I believe the children are future. Teach them well and let them lead the way. Show them all the beauty they possess inside. Give them a sense of pride to make it easier. Let the children's laughter remind us who we used to be. Everybody's searching for a hero. People need someone to look up to. I never found anyone to fulfill my needs. A lonely place to be. So I learned to depend on me. I decided long ago never to walk in anyone's shadow. If I failed, if I succeed, at least I'll live as I believe. No matter what they take from me, they can't take away my dignity, because the greatest love of all is happening to me. I found the greatest love of all inside of me. The greatest love of all is easy to achieve. Learning to love yourself is the greatest love of all. And if by chance that special place that you've been dreaming of takes you to a lonely place, find yourself in love. Greetings and welcome to the Tiger's Den. Happy holidays. Tonight, we're going to go back, and we're going to go back to our federal mandate of the destruction of the Black family. And of course, we know that was the ASFA. I'm not going to read the last two chapters of the Kybalion. Maria has been so kind to drop the link in the chat. You can go and look or listen to the gentleman read that last two chapters. And hopefully you'll listen to it more often and learn to incorporate it into your lives. Once you understand those principles of life, then you can understand why we must and why we do things in honor. You can see that the mind, your mind, not anybody else's, is what will take you far or to keep you stagnant in one position. It's according to how you exercise the brain muscle and the thoughts therein. I want to go back to our book because I think we need to know why. Why, after 500 years of slavery, that we're still in the condition that we're in. All the opportunities we've had since supposedly the end of slavery, and yet we're still in a worse position, I would say, as a people. The way we view ourselves and the way we view others. Malcolm X asked the question, who taught you to hate yourself? Who taught you that? Because that is definitely a learned behavior. Could it have been your parents? Maybe. Could it have been strangers? Perhaps. But what if there's a system in place that won't allow you to go but a certain level or a certain distance? And then they make the living conditions deplorable and say it's your fault. We all believe in something greater than ourselves. Some call it God, some call it Allah, some call it Buddha, some call it Jesus, Muhammad. Whatever it is that you call it, you pray to it. You assemble yourself amongst believers like yourselves. You give, you say to the cause, what cause? I don't know. But nothing ever changed for you. Why? Maybe if we knew why we were in the condition we were in, we would make better choices. And maybe we would know how to handle life itself. I came to YouTube to uplift fallen humanity. Never in a million years would I have thought I would have gotten over 1,400 subscribers. And I certainly didn't think that I would have people in my live chats. I used to do videos mostly, and then I started going live. And there used to be a lot of people. And when I say a lot, 30 or 40 people are a lot for me. But I am so grateful for you all who show up every Wednesday and every Sunday to hear me do what I love to do. And that is to educate. I've been on a journey for a while, and it was very interesting. I used to couldn't even talk about our history because I was so disgusted with the stories that we were told, the things that we were told that happened, but I never really understood the why until I embarked upon this journey to find out who we were before we were known as slaves, because we had to be something other than slaves. And then you look at most people that have been enslaved and have since, gone on to, I would say, what we would call freedom. And you look at how they're able, as a nation of people, to rise above their enslavement. Matter of fact, they run most of the corporations throughout the world. People will come here to this land, our land, and are very successful. But yet we seem to be no greater than we were when we were taken care of by massa. I don't know if it's the algorithm, if it's the topic, or what it is, but my videos don't get pushed out. And I was looking at a video today that tells you kind of sometimes why your videos don't get pushed out. Sometimes you have to push them out yourself. You have to put them out in other arenas so that people will may be willing to come and see you. And you think, well, why would I have to do that? And it's because of your topics. If I was talking about all the craziness that goes on in the YouTube world, then I would have no problem. Whether you like me or not, if I was talking about your subject, it would be no problem for you to be in my chat. So I'd rather talk about what I like to talk about, and whoever comes, let them come. But I'm grateful for you guys who have been here from the beginning and are still here. Whether you type in the chat or not, I thank you for hitting the like button, and I thank you for when you donate. I appreciate that. This is very important to me. Number one, I'm an Asiatic woman, and I'm a mother of an Asiatic son. And this is very important to me. And I see so many suffering children. And we say the children are our future. And I don't know if we're preparing them for the future. I would say that we're not, but some may beg to differ with me. Let me come on camera while I talk, because I'm going to go back off camera when I start reading. Merry Christmas! Yes, Merry Christmas. This is Toothless Santa. And I have on my little Christmas sweater. I got this sweater from Cross. It's actually a sweatshirt. It's very nice and soft and cozy. Cross is a guy that's on YouTube, and he has his own clothing line. He has a website, crossyourheart.com. He does excellent work. Matter of fact, he's the guy who did the Just Do It t-shirt for Dewberry. Yeah, so I thought I'd put it on tonight to put us in the Christmas spirit. What is that spirit? The spirit of giving. What do I have to give me? My knowledge, my wisdom, my thoughts. That's what I have to give. And so I want to delve back into chapter 4 is where I left off. Thank you, Ass. I love you so. I love your show, Ass. I love, love, love your show, as you well know it, and I tell you all the time. I just love your originality and authenticity. It's nothing in the world like being whoever you were created to be. Nothing in the world like it, no matter how others see it. Along with all the stories that's going around, it's a young man, a very handsome young man, that has come out and said that he was propositioned by a couple of billionaires, and a lot of people call into question his truth. And everybody wants to say why he didn't do it like this, and why come he didn't say this, and why he waits so long. And I mean, why do we do anything? Oftentimes we don't know. Sometimes we overthink things. But I think if you're the one that's being traumatized, however you tell it, is your business. And if you're sharing it with the world, especially because it may be happening to other people, then if you choose to share it, that's what you choose to do, however you choose to do it. And everybody, he's just after money, and there is no amount of money that can compensate you when a person has violated you. And a lot of people don't understand that violation doesn't come with touching always. A lot of people Think everything is a joke and it's all about money. But when someone damages you civilly, the only resolution is money. But he waited until the statute of limitation ran out, he said. So I don't know if he can do anything criminally or financially. But if that's what he's doing it for, why not? He was harmed. I don't understand. Unless it's you, then you'll understand. And because I've been in the position of being violated in more ways than one. And one thing I heard one lady say, and she's telling the truth about it, this is not the place to come if you want to garner any kind of empathy or sympathy. But if you get the word out, I think that's really what he's doing. I don't think he really cares about no empathy or no sympathy. I think that he wants to just get it out. And such a time as this is the time to get it out. All of the players in the games or whatever, he'll name them or he won't. It's not important for me to know. What's important for me is that he heal and he doesn't harm himself. That's what's important to me. But everybody see things different. So I don't have a problem with how nobody view what they view, see what they see, and say what they say. To me, it's just very strange how people, they love the Lord, but they have no compassion for people. Everybody's looking for an ulterior motive, and somebody may have an ulterior motive. But since I am not a judge of anything and have no heaven or hell to go send them to, what does it matter? I'm just going to talk about them anyway. And I guess that's what other people are doing when they voice their opinions, because we all have them. And they don't have to agree with mine, as I don't agree with most. So I feel them. But it's just painful being an incest survivor and being a person who survived bullying and harassing and defamation on YouTube. People who pretend they support you, but they're afraid to come in your chat. And that may not be a pretense, that may be true. They just go in other people's chats because they feel safe. But in yours, they feel attacked. I understand that. I understand that's humanly possible. I don't understand it, to be real honest. But it is humanly possible. You know, I'm not these people, so I can't say how they truly feel. I can only say what people say. So I thank you all in the bushes, in the trees, in the sky, on the beach, in the boat, the desert, wherever you may be. If you're watching Toothless, I want to thank you. I appreciate that. Now I want to get down to business. I want to give you what you came here for. We want to go back to the manual. Here we go. The ASFA devalues and dehumanizes the Black family. Historically, the Supreme Court has held the view that the family is a private institution where individuals are free to pursue their goals without the threat of government intrusion. The constitutional basis for family privacy is rooted in the guarantee of liberty in the Due Process Clause of the 14th Amendment. Family privacy protects the rights of parents to claim authority over their children and provide the personal, financial, or custodial responsibility for their growth in adulthood. As far back as 1943, the Supreme Court stated, "It's cardinal with us that the custody, care, and nurture of a child resides first in the parents, whose primary function and freedom include preparation for obligations the state can neither supply nor hinder." Greetings, Phyllis. These obligations include preparing the child to participate in social and political life when he or she reaches adulthood. Now, how many of us knew that a Supreme Court case had a decision in 1943 that it is the parents and the parents alone duty to provide these things for your children, and their obligations include preparing the child to participate in social and political life when he or she reaches adulthood. So apparently that kind of tells us something about reaching adulthood. Seems like we never get there. What do you think? Because we were never taught. We were never taught politics. I kind of want to just take you to what they call us. There it is. They call us minorities. In law, minority, the state or condition of a minor, infancy, and I should say, the smaller number of votes of a deliberative assembly opposed to the majority. So now, if minority means the state or condition of a minor or an infancy, and we answer to being a minority, then how are we viewed? In the scheme of things, in the world where we must compete for jobs, science, how are we really viewed? We're expected to vote, but we don't have a clue on voting. We don't have a clue on politicians. We just see them when they come to the churches during the time of an election. Generally, we may hear one or two politicians' names in the news. But the law clearly protects the rights of parents to participate in the nurturing and rearing of their children in the context of divorce. Even if a parent was neglectful or abusive prior to the divorce, he is still entitled to be a part of his child's life. The goal is to make divorce less onerous on the child. A court may even prevent a custodial parent from relocating out of the state to allow the child's relationship with both parents to continue after the divorce. Although a step parent may obtain rights with respect to his or her stepchild, these rights do not interfere or replace the rights that the law grants to a natural parent. There is a general understanding that the maintenance of family and biological parent ties are beneficial to a child, and that's, I think, to the child. The ASFA reveals, however, that Congress placed no such value in maintaining the bonds between a black child and her biological parents. It's something to these wordings. Words are very important. Very important. Before, when we were talking about the divorced person, we were talking about the father being the parent that was away. We're talking about the child and we're talking about the daughter. But today, now we have to negotiate pronouns. We don't know what's what, to be real honest. But we do. Or do we? Deeply rooted stereotypes about black family dysfunction place no value on the relationship between poor black parents and their children. With the proliferation of images such as the black welfare queen and crack addicted mother, black mothers are characterized as deviant and uncaring. They are criticized for transferring a degenerate lifestyle of welfare dependency and crime to their children. Black fathers are simply seen as absent from the lives of their children. These racist stereotypes about black family dysfunction are indiscriminately applied and make it difficult to imagine poor black parents actually caring for their children. And man, if they're looking at us on YouTube, you can almost understand why. Now I want to read that 106 footnote because Dr. E. Roberts, The Value of Black Mothers, and this is a reference that they give, and it was written or done in 1994. It looks like case law. The conception of the Victorian norm of female domesticity never applied to black women. Even after emancipation, political and economic conditions forced many black mothers to earn a living outside the home. Americans expected black mothers to look like Aunt Jemima, working in somebody else's kitchen, outfitted in an unflattered dress, apron, and scarf, a head rag. She is always ready for work and never ready for bed. American culture reveres no black Madonna. It upholds no popular image of a black mother nurturing her child. I thought that was very important. With legislation like the ASFA, the child welfare system becomes a misnomer. It focuses on punishing what white America has deemed disgraceful parenting instead of deciding what is actually best for the child. The attempt to penalize bad mothers and bad parenting ultimately hurts the child. Separating a child from its familial bond is extremely destructive. The University of Florida conducted a study of infants born addicted to crack cocaine. Researchers followed one group of babies what were placed in foster care and another group that remained with their birth mothers. Although the birth mothers were struggling with addiction, they were still able to care for the infants. After 6 months, the babies were measured with regard to infant development. The children placed with the birth mothers consistently developed better than those placed in foster care. Researchers concluded the separation from their mothers was more toxic than the cocaine to the foster care children. The goal of the child welfare system should be to reunify families so that children will not suffer the toxic loss of their familial bonds. Instead, the ASFA provides incentives to states for placing Black children in adoptive homes. Joyce Paveo, a family therapist who specializes in adoption issues, tells the story of a foster child whose parents had their rights terminated. The boy was subsequently adopted by a family. However, he would go to the telephone booth and call his biological grandmother after the adoption was finalized. He had communicated with this grandmother for all of his life, including while he was in foster care. Social workers told the adoptive parents that these lingering connections were illegal and would distract from the bonding process with the new family. Paveo disagrees with the validity of this assumption, stating, "There is no true understanding of the need that these children had for the people who had been positive and present in their very complicated and often traumatic lives." The ASFA and its push for adoption does not value the child's bonds before foster care, although there are problematic issues in the home. These issues do not negate the child's emotional attachment to his or her parents and family members. Let me go back to where I was. My hand hit the thing and it just started rolling. Let me come on down a little bit. I don't have a mouse. I use my finger, and sometimes it just doesn't work the way you want it to work. I'm right here, but I got to get there. When describing the ASFA, one senator commented, "The law is going to be about the joy of adoption and the bonding of a real family to so many kids." It is this notion that Black families are not real families that allows our government to rip Black children away from their parents. It is beyond their imagination that Black children in foster care have a strong, loving, healthy, and emotional attachment to their parents. By promoting adoption of Black children, the ASFA permanently severs this emotional attachment. After the ASFA took effect, adoption of foster children increased from 28,000 per year in 1996 to 50,000 per year in 2000. Although this may seem like a lot, in reality, this amounts. I'm going to go page by page. I think I can do it better. This amounts to less than 1% of the children in the foster care system being adopted. Meanwhile, because the ASFA makes it easier to needlessly take children from their homes, the foster care population is increasing by an average of 4% a year. Children are entering the system at a higher rate than they are being adopted. Therefore, the ultimate goal of the ASFA will never be realized. America is not going to adopt its way out of the foster care crisis. Furthermore, black children are considerably less likely to be adopted than white children. A California study of 3,873 children who were younger than 6 years old when they entered foster care found that race had a substantial effect on their experience. Even while all other things are equal, white children were 5 times more likely to be adopted than black children. A black infant had the same likelihood of being adopted as a 3 to 5 year old white child. Therefore, even after parental rights have been terminated, black children will continue to drift between foster care placements. Now, however, any hope of reunification with the biological parents is lost. Most will never experience the real family policymakers imagined, and instead will become permanent wards of the state. Let's go to number 6. The ASFA perpetuates racism against the black community. The destruction mandated by the ASFA not only affects individual black families, it perpetuates racism and disrupts the entire black community. Family integrity has always been critical to the welfare of the black community. After emancipation, many blacks made efforts to find family members and reunify where slavery had disconnected them. They understood the necessity of familial connections. The family served as the means of transferring survival skills, values, and self-esteem to future generations. State interference in the black home interferes with the black community's ability to transmit personal and community identity to its children. In addition, by devaluing the autonomy and relationships of the black family, the ASFA sends a clear message about the inferiority of the black race. The message that black people do not have the capacity to govern themselves and need state intervention in their families, devalues black people, and perpetuates the racial hierarchy that continues to oppress the black community. Growing up under this shield of inferiority is especially harmful to black children. Now, this study was did in 2006. It was done in 2006. Why do we still suffer from the same ills in 2023? How is it that we can have all the studies in the world, which of course we as a people know nothing about? We can have all of these studies, but we never ever have any solutions. And we as a people don't even, if you're not involved in the adoption community or something of that nature, then you have no way of knowing any of this information. It doesn't even cross your mind. State interference in the black home interferes with the black community's ability to transmit personal and community identity to its children. In addition, I already read that. I was at, as renowned historian Dr. John Henrik Clarke noted, the family is the soul, the spirit, and the cornerstone of the nation. If the family dies, so does the nation. With this understanding that families are the essential network network that builds a nation. Strong black families are imperative to the liberation and economic advancement of the black community. Family associations serve an important political function. They both facilitate and constrain the power of the government by nurturing support and resistance of particular governmental views. Disrupting black families harms the political power of the black community and usurps its ability to effectuate social change. And pretty much the only thing we get to learn politically is predominantly from our ministers, because that's the only time that we really see, not everybody, but most people interacting with politicians. It weakens the collective ability for black people to overcome institutionalized discrimination and work toward greater political and economic strength, and ultimately reinforces the continued political subordination of blacks as a group. I don't know if we even think about these kind of things as we try to get the bag and want to be better than the next person or keep up with the Joneses. I don't even think that most of us as a people, and I know I didn't have any of these thoughts, uh, you know, before I actually went on my journey of learning who we were before we were slaves. I was just trying to work and make it every day and pay my bills. Had no idea about anything systemic. I felt the result of being mistreated and qualifying for positions and seeing people that are less qualified than you getting the position. That by the way that you are the one who trained them, and so when they came they knew nothing. You've been there, but they get the position. So I've seen all of that kind of stuff, and I felt the pain of things, but we had no clue. I didn't. Regina said exactly, Toothless 100. All these studies and analysis continue to be done on us and the black family. Yet, we, the black family, is not involved. However, these things continue to be done to us. Yeah, that's amazing. And we don't even care about being involved because we think because we got, all these people following behind us, and we have the latest cars and the latest outfit, that we've arrived. We can wear jewelry now. We can go places that possibly we couldn't go once upon a time. It's really amazing to me how it's so much, and it would take so little if we got involved as a people in our own situation. But of course, we tend to want to blame everybody but ourselves and don't want to take responsibility, although there is a lot of blame to be blamed on others. True that. I'm not saying that's not true. But, there's a saying, once you know better, you do better. And it's written, how can you know unless you be taught? And then seek and you shall find. And then we know everything that we do is done on a repetitive basis. So if you read something or if you hear something and you don't quite understand it, then what you should do is do what you were taught. If you remember back in school, and that was get a dictionary and look up the word. And now if you can't even spell the word or don't even know how to say the word, you can halfway do it on your phone by telling Google, and that AI is very intelligent, and it'll find exactly what you were looking for. You may have to ask it several different ways, but it can be found. I mean, reading this stuff is so disheartening. And seeing how our adults act in the name of entertainment is so disheartening. I looked at a video the Black Rabbit shared, and Malcolm X was doing a speech, and Malcolm said, you know, in what other nation of people, nationality of people, do they have comedians and entertainers and basketball players and football players, athletes as their leaders? No other place but in our community. And we look up to these people, and whatever they say, we go along with. And now that everybody is falling apart, I don't know why come we don't think it's something strange about all of these men now being exposed. And of course, you know it's going to be more to come at such a time as this. It's something about this. I guess any time is whatever time is the right time, and it's when it's supposed to be. But when are we going to start using some of the tools that we heard about and that we should already have a established foundation on, using logic? One of the things I love about Judge Judy, she always lets us know that if it doesn't make sense, it's not true. There's a lot of things that's happening right now that doesn't make sense. Regina says some blacks are too busy trying to be the next celebrity and be famous with the appearance of wealth. Too busy trying to be accepted and cool to people that should not matter. And that's so very true, Regina, because not only the people should not matter to them, they don't matter to the people. The people are addicted to the craziness, and they're going to follow the next crazy story. So as long as you're giving them what they want, then you have the crowd. But don't you dare have the audacity to be different and try to give them substance, something that they can give their children. Don't you dare do that. Honey, you in the wrong place. How could you be in the wrong place when it's billions of people use YouTube with any topic you want on YouTube? And then I just really just laugh so hard at these people. This is the wrong place to come try to teach something to somebody. Well, anything you want to know, most of you go to YouTube. People put engines in cars, rebuild carburetors, build homes, repair toilets. Anything you can imagine, you can find it on YouTube. Oh, but not your knowledge now. Don't you be on YouTube trying to teach nobody nothing. You better not do that. You in the wrong sector. This is the entertainment sector. There is no other entertainment sector. No, what I heard today was that if you don't really promote yourself, YouTube don't really push your thing out. And so therefore, you're not attracting the right people. That's why you're seeing all of these people chats, the same people, although they're growing exponentially. I don't know how these people getting all these thousands of subscribers, but you see no new people in their chats. So I guess the people just subscribe and keep going. Subscribe and keep going. I don't know how that works. Really none of my business. But again, I'm just talking about it because I can. Regina said, too busy being brainwashed and thinking about things being spoon-fed to them through propaganda via music and television and visuals. Unwilling to understand the history to do the research. So very true. And then, a lot of people Don't believe, I guess, in the statement, if you don't know where you come from, you're bound to end up right back there. We can see it happening to us. And it's really sad. Hi, Regina Stokes. Good to see you. Glad you joined me. Oh, and you're a member. I hope you guys saw the member video I did. I really, really, really want to give away some massages. If anybody would just respond to me and let me know they have a massage envy in their town, I'd love to gift you one. I can only gift one a month, but I would love to do that. Yeah, it's so very sad, you know, our condition. And then everybody say they're tired of the mess. They don't want to be in none of that. But everybody goes watching. No, you just tired of typing in there and letting people see you in there. But you like it because I go watch to see who's watching. But lately I've decided not to even do that. I used to go and listen to, a craziness that keeps, stalking and talking about me and several people, but I decided not to do that. I just decided to do something different, and that's to enforce my judgment. While all these people laughing about my default judgment, everybody can laugh, but the one who the judgment is against, that one can't laugh. They can just talk and try to make me sing. You know how it's funny how when people don't want truth to be told, then they make the truth teller seems like they're crazy. But if you remember in polarity, all truths are half truths. And when we learn about mentalism and the power of the mind, the last chapter that I did not read was the mentalism of gender. Very important that we really start doing something a little bit different, because life is going to be hard for us. Here we're looking at laws that were passed in the 80s, and that's when we know our families start being destroyed. We can tell, and Dr. Umar tells it very well, how in the 70s the jobs started going overseas, and in the 80s, of course, they started introducing the crack cocaine, and in the 90s, then they changed the rap music. It used to be all conscious and hey, upbeat and self-destruction. We headed for self-destruction, and do this and do that. And Rakim and Nas and all of them had some beautiful things to say to us. And then here we come now with the mumble and the jumble and the rumble and the shoot 'em up bang bang and drop that, and bag that, and it's shake what your mama gave you, and I got it from my mama. And, it's just really, we've gone to the dogs. We've gone to the dogs. We don't have to stay there. We don't. See, when you don't know you have a need for something, then you don't know how to cure a ill. But we used to know how to cure illnesses because we used to use grandma remedies. Then a lot of our politicians, and especially those that look like us, we vote them in office, and they leave, menial jobs. Some of them may be attorneys, one or two of them may be a doctor, but they're still just making maybe 6 digits or maybe a little under 6 digits. And then we send them to Washington, and then they win a second term. And when they do their reports And most of us don't go look at those financial reports that are public record. But when they do their reports, they came in there making X amount of dollars, didn't have no money in the bank, and by the second term, they're $2 or $3 million strong, and we didn't see them do anything different, and that job didn't pay them that amount of money. So then you have to look at the lobbyists, and these are the things that we can't talk about on such a platform as this. Now, they have community guidelines that are so ambiguous to tell us that we can and can't talk about certain things, but they just give you a word, and then they give you every definition of the word, but the origin of the word. I've had to challenge each one of my videos because they don't want to give me any AdSense. Well, why am I a partner if I can't get any AdSense? I don't have the people or the money that comes in on a daily basis. I don't have people hitting my super chat and cash app every day, 5 to 20 people. I don't have that. Nor did I come here for that. And then, my brother say, well, don't say that it's not about money, but you're talking about your cash out. I mean, a workman is worthy of their hire. So just because I'm not doing it for money don't mean I don't want money. That's crazy for anybody to think that. The bottom line is I'm not willing to do anything for money. I'm not willing to compromise who I am. And this is something I do every day. So it's not work for me. It's life. I believe in life and living. Regina said that group mentality, aka followers, is necessary in certain situations for the betterment of humanity or balanced equality. True that, and I agree, and justice, etc. But for the destruction and dismantling is dangerous. Say that one more time without writing it. I'll read it again. That group mentality, aka followers, is necessary in certain situations for the betterment of humanity or balanced equality and justice, etc. But for the destruction and dismantling is dangerous. And that's so very true. And that's true just by the scripture in Ecclesiastes about the three-quartered individual. Two is better than one, and three is even stronger because you can braid it, and it's very hard to break. So we know that's really, really, really true. Okay. Let's go to number 7. The ASFA does not address the socioeconomic context that results in the placement of Black children in foster care. The ASFA represented the first piece of legislation in which states have a federal mandate to protect children from abuse and neglect, but no corresponding mandate to provide basic economic support to poor families. It has already been demonstrated that the ASFA's goal of adoption will do little to cure the overpopulation of children in the foster care system. Instead, policymakers should focus on the underlying social ills of poverty, incarceration, and substance abuse that plague the communities of this nation's poor. Dorothy Roberts, an expert on child welfare policy, noted, in the past several decades, the number of children receiving welfare services has declined dramatically. Let's hear why. While the foster care population has skyrocketed, as the child welfare system began to serve fewer white children and more children of color, State and federal governments spent more money on out-of-home care and less on in-home services. Foster care has become the main resource that the child welfare system provides to Black families in need. Isn't that something? So the main resource, and everybody talking about she wanting to have a baby so she can get on welfare and keep the welfare coming. But do you hear what they're saying in this study? The ideology of rescuing the child by removing it from the home has caused caseworkers to separate children from their parents, even when it may not be in the best interest of the child. Parents may often still be able to care for their children while they face substance abuse issues. In most cases, keeping children with their parents while offering intensive family preservation services and drug treatment is safer, more stable, and less traumatic for children than placing them in the care of strangers in the foster care system. Child welfare policy needs to place a greater emphasis on family preservation programs for the sake of the children. Although family preservation programs are essential to combat the increase in foster care placements, local governments oftentimes do not have the financial resources to fund such programs. Dorothy Roberts is the Kirkland and Ellis Professor at Northwestern University School of Law and Faculty Fellow in the Institute for Policy Research. She is a frequent speaker on issues related to race, gender, and the law, and has published more than 50 articles in law reviews and books. She has also authored books on the subject, including Shattered Bonds, The Color of Child Welfare, and Killing the Black Body, Race, Reproduction, and the Meaning of Liberty. I need to look up some of her writings. A 2005 nationwide survey of city officials released by the National League of Cities and Institute for Youth Education and Families determined that affordable housing, high-quality child care, before and after school programs, and substance abuse programs were significantly lacking in many communities. The survey also identified a need for more employment opportunities for adults, parenting education, youth employment, and youth crime prevention programs. Child abuse prevention efforts and early childhood education programs. Okay. All of these programs require financial commitment from the state. Now remember, each state has a constitution. So each state, in effect, is its own country. So it's just, what is the state willing to invest in you? And who are you to your state? That's why local voting is so very important. It's so very important that you choose your state legislation wisely. The legislature, as far as the House and the Senate, your local mayors, your city council. We need to know who these people are. The board of school boards. They're very, very, very important. The county commissioners, the county sheriff. They're very important. Because that's ultimately who runs your state. And again, the government has 12 offices that they have strategically placed in different regions throughout the United States so that they can claim federal jurisdiction when need be. We need to start studying the Constitution, and that's the state constitution in which we live, and the Constitution for the United States of America. We need to know this stuff. And we can go back to ancient Kemet, and we can go back to ancient Egypt, Ikuta. We can go all of those places. That's good for you to have that knowledge and to teach it to your children. But for you to get a better understanding of what's going on from when Lincoln was president up to today, then what we need to do is go back to that time. Try to find dictionaries that date back as old as you can find them. Go back, learn the Organic Act of Congress and see what it did to us. As a nation, as we call ourselves, we need to truly, people, I implore you, don't do it for me. Do it for your babies. It took me, 50 some odd years before I even started down this path. And here I am, 65, and I plan to live to 104 in my right mind. So as long as I'm alive, I will share this truth. And I don't own this platform, so there may be a day when I have to invest in my own website and stream from there. I don't know. But as long as they give me an opportunity to share my videos, whether they put commercials on it or not, then I will show up and do my part. Because the time is going to come when we as a people are going to wish we knew some of this stuff. I hear in some of these places, these people tell the story and try to talk about the Constitution and talk about things that are not there in the articles in which they're naming, but hey, at least they're talking about it. So at least they're trying. Maybe one day they'll research and read and be able to tell some truth. Because it's nothing worse than hearing something wrong. Not because of your hearing, but because of the information that was given. And they always want to say that you can't do conspiracies and everything is not a conspiracy. Everything is not a conspiracy. I'm going to say welcome, Hardin Boyston. Thank you for coming. I hope everybody please hit the like button. That really helps me show YouTube that the few people that show up are engaged. And I thank you for speaking because that really shows engagement. I don't mind anybody coming to my chat as long as you're not disrespectful. You're welcome. And only the person that you disrespect determines what's disrespectful. Because a lot of us get lost in communication. I should say translation. And what one person thinks is disrespectful may not seem to be disrespectful to the other person. But I just say if it's something that you wouldn't want said to or about you, don't say it to or about nobody else. At least not publicly. Because we all say things about others. Whether we acknowledge it or not, we do. Regina said, I'm trying to see what Regina said before I start back reading. These things are not being taught in school. They are not being taught during Black history. Our history is hidden in plain sight and most available to us freely. The library is a great resource. It is a great resource, and I can tell you all, unequivocally that you can sit in your room, in your living room, your dining room, your bedroom, your office, whatever room that you like to sit in, and be on your computer, and you can join the library. You can join, I'm talking about your local library online, your state library, your law library, and even the Library of Congress from the comfort of your home. The topic is the destruction of the black family, the federal mandate destruction of the black family. Of course, I see myself as an Asiatic doing the history that I've learned that ties us back to the bloodline, the nationality of who we were, which we traded for freedom. Unfortunately, we didn't get freedom. We didn't even get education for human development, which is known as erudition. We got education, animal husbandry, that's known for animals on the farm. We're just taught to be single file, uniformed, follow the leader type deal. But that's the topic. Pardon. Right now, we're talking about the system that broke down the black families. And this is the Northwestern Journal of Law and School and Social Policy. The survey also identified a need for more employment opportunity for adults, parenting, education, youth employment, and youth crime prevention programs, child abuse prevention efforts, and early childhood education programs. All of these programs require financial commitment from the state. Without such a commitment, more children are likely to be removed from their homes as a consequence of extreme poverty, and black children will continue to be ripped away from their families. Extreme poverty. And I don't know if y'all notice in the news a lot and in Congress, they're having all of these meetings about trafficking of children all of a sudden. When it was once being said, they swore that that was a conspiracy theory and none of that stuff is true. And you can't say that kind of stuff in the public. Yet now we're having hearings in Congress. And that's what I was saying about YouTube with their ambiguity in their community guidelines. And, you know, you're not saying the stuff that they lay out in their guidelines, but if you use one word, and if someone wants to say that you did this or said that, then you have a possibility of not getting paid on your videos because of what someone said. And then you have to fight that. Well, for me, it's so few people look at my videos now that by the time that they decide that it's okay for the video to get commercials, nobody is looking at them anymore. So it's like not having commercials at all. It really it has become cumbersome to be a partner, and you know I just don't see why nobody would not want to advertise on such a topic as this. We have all kind of things going on in the world. We have people that have stories about the war and they're advertising on them. But we can't mention the war. We got to be sensitive. But not only that, we can't even talk about us as a people and how we feel about how we're being affected. We're the only people who can't talk about our situation. And we don't think that's strange. We don't think it's strange that we get punished for talking about us. But everybody can tell you where their grandfather and grandmother came from, and they're a proud people and a proud nation. And we can't even talk about, we're not supposed to be proud of nothing. And perhaps some of you are not. But I have a proud, strong heritage that I'm proud of. The ASFA infringes on the constitutional right to family integrity. The ASFA can also be analyzed through the framework of constitutionality. The U.S. Supreme Court has recognized family integrity as a fundamental right. If a right is fundamental, it is entitled to heightened protection from state inference, I'll say it like that. But I guess I could say inference. Therefore, any state action that infringes on a fundamental right is subject to strict scrutiny. Strict scrutiny requires courts to perform a two-part analysis. First, the state action must be justified by compelling governmental interest, and the means chosen must be essential to further that interest. Second, the state action must be the last intrusive way of furthering the governmental interest. Child protection is a compelling interest and clearly justifies state intervention into the family sphere. The question then becomes, is removal of the child from the parent's custody the essential, least restrictive means of protecting the child? Since states have continuously reduced social service programs, foster care is often the only service available to protect the child. Courts should use their authority to require policymakers to develop less restrictive means than the removal of children from their homes to further the interests of child protection. And certainly, what they're not speaking of, they're not speaking of children that are being abused or neglected. They're speaking strictly on children's poor living conditions is the reason a lot of our children are being removed from the homes. Yeah, thank you. That is so true. Okay. Thank you for that. Okay. Even if foster care is found to be the last restrictive means of achieving child protection, serious constitutional problems arise when the state attempts to terminate parental rights. The fundamental right the parent and child have in staying together remains intact, even after temporary removal through foster care. The state must have a new interest aside from the child protection to justify terminating the parental rights of a parent. While the state may argue that permanency or providing a safe and stable home for the child is its compelling interest, terminating parental rights is oftentimes not essential to furthering this interest. This could really help somebody. You never really know what people are going through. This could really help somebody. Under the strict scrutiny standard, the state must demonstrate that terminating parental rights is essential to achieving permanency in the life of a child. Terminating parental rights without more is not an essential means of achieving permanency. Permanency can better be achieved either through reunification or adoption. Although terminating parental rights makes the adoption process easier, as discussed previously, termination alone does not ensure the child is adopted. Termination is therefore not an appropriate means to achieve permanency. The strict scrutiny standard requires more. An adoptive home must be in place before parental rights are terminated. This will ensure rights are only terminated where a means of achieving permanency exists. Without such an adoptive home, the fundamental right to the parent-child relationship should not be severed. Even if a court determines that terminating parental rights is a means to achieve permanency, the termination still does not withstand strict scrutiny. The second part of the strict scrutiny analysis is that the state must demonstrate that termination is the least restrictive means of achieving a safe and stable home for the child. This requirement was put in place to ensure there are no less restrictive alternatives available that would achieve the same interest without violating fundamental rights. There are situations where it is necessary to terminate parental. Now, I was reading so good. And then I hit this thing to go up some and I lost my place. The terminate parental rights is essential to achieving permanency in the life. I don't think I was there. Adoptive home must be in place without such an adoption ceremony. Even if the court determines the second part of the scrutiny, this requirement was put in place to ensure there are no less restrictive alternatives available that would achieve the same. I was right here. I just seen it. I went up and lost it. There are situations where it is necessary to terminate parental rights because children are being seriously abused and are at serious risk of harm from their parents. The ASFA, however, does not distinguish these serious cases, which are relatively rare, from the majority of cases where children enter foster care because of neglect. These children have not suffered, nor are they at serious risk of suffering child abuse. Therefore, the state should not be able to terminate parental rights because less restrictive alternatives are available. For example, the state may seek to terminate the rights of a parent whose child was placed in foster care because she was living in unsanitary conditions and was often forced to go hungry. Without government assistance, the parent has been deemed unfit. She is unable to meet the specifics of the case plan to secure adequate housing and a steady income. Instead of severing the fundamental right to a family, a less restrictive means would be for the state to provide adequate funds for the family's basic necessities of food and shelter. Terminating parental rights is over-inclusive. Spending money to provide families with meaningful aid is a clear alternative to termination. Furthermore, termination does not get at the heart of the problem that created the neglectful environment. It focuses on punishing the parent for making bad choices or sometimes for simply being poor. And I would say that of the latter, simply being poor, because we pretty much know the conditions that have us living in a poor state of being. I mean, it's not rocket science. We don't have the opportunities that others have. And when you're already deemed as being the face of welfare, then what better place to keep you than on welfare? Why don't they make it a more available for us to get jobs? Like, when I was growing up, we had home economics and we had workshop and we had all of these different functions. And now we have magnet schools that a group of children are able to go to, but we don't teach entrepreneurship. So, if a man know how to fish, you don't have to bring him no fish. He can go and do it himself. She can go and get it herself. It's just that simple. Additionally, in 2001, the Illinois Supreme Court held the 15-month provision of the State's Adoption Act unconstitutional. The law, based on the mandate of the ASFA, presumed a parent unfit after a child had been in foster care for 15 months and moved to terminate parental rights. And Ray H.G. involved a parent whose substance abuse problem prevented her from meeting the requirements stipulated by caseworkers and therefore from achieving reunification within the 15th month specification. The Illinois Supreme Court recognized the fundamental right to family integrity and invoked strict scrutiny to analyze the state's action. The court held the provision was unconstitutional as a violation of substantive due process under both the 14th Amendment and the Illinois Constitution. The presumption of unfitness was not narrowly tailored to the compelling goal of identifying unfit parents, because in many cases, the length of a child's stay in foster care had nothing to do with the parent's ability or inability to safely care for the child, but instead was due to circumstances beyond the parent's control. This step by the Illinois Supreme Court is indeed a victory for Black families. And when it's a victory in one state, you can use that case law for your state if you're ever in that situation. I am not a lawyer. I don't practice law. This is by no way legal advice. This is just if you start researching and reading, then you will understand, and the law will tell you how it goes. And I think I did a video once on the different types of law. So by no wise what I'm saying would be any advice for anyone to take action on. But I think you should research it for yourself. Number 9, equal protection and procedural due process limitations of the ASFA. There are additional procedural challenges to the constitutionality of terminating parental rights. Since poor Black families are disproportionately affected by the ASFA's 15th month parental rights termination provision, a discrimination claim may be viable because of the legislation's disparate impact on Blacks. Washington v. Davis, however, deflates the hopes of the substantiating the claim. Although the disparity along racial lines is clear in the foster care system, it can easily be attributed to economics instead of racial discrimination. In Davis, the Supreme Court held that under the Equal Protection Clause of the 14th Amendment, if disparate impact on racial grounds is explainable on non-racial grounds, then the law is not unconstitutional. A recent Tennessee District Court decision in Bryan A. v. Sundquist, however, acknowledged that race impacted foster care services in Tennessee. Although the suit was filed on behalf of all foster children in state custody, it contained a putative subclause of Black children alleging that not specifically the ASFA, but the Tennessee Adoption and Permanency Services generally had a discriminatory effect on Black foster children. The case was settled on July 30th, 2001. The settlement included general provisions to reform the foster care system, as well as specific provisions to evaluate if Black children receive disparate treatment or suffer disparate impact, to assess the causes for such disparities, and recommend solutions. Although this settlement holds the state accountable for its actions on behalf of Black children, a more plausible attack on the constitutionality of the ASFA's termination provision would be a disparate impact claim based not on race, but on poverty. The unconstitutionality of the ASFA's 15-month termination provision, because of its disparate impact on the poor, is supported by the Supreme Court's decision in MLB versus SLJ. In MLB, the court held that the 14th Amendment does not allow a state to condition appeal from a termination proceeding on an indigent parent's ability to pay for transcript fees. Those transcripts are very expensive. Where the transcript is necessary for the proceedings, the court stated choices about marriage, family life, and upbringing of children are among associated rights that courts has ranked as basic importance in our society. Let me see if yeah, yeah. I just want to make sure I was in the right place. Rights sheltered by the 14th Amendment against the state's unwarranted usurpation, disregarded, or disrespected. And that's disregard or disrespect. The court concluded that termination of parental rights was comparable to a criminal punishment. Unlike loss of custody, the termination of parental rights is irrevocable and results in the loss of one of the most fundamental relationships. This decision introduces the precedent that termination proceedings cannot disparately impact the poor. Indigent parents cannot be forced to endure the severity of a termination of their parental rights because of their poverty. Under the MLB precedent, it could be argued that the 14th Amendment should protect not only the ability to pay a transcript fee, but also other limitations imposed by poverty, such as the ability to secure housing or obtain adequate heating or utilities. An indigent parent who is unable to retain custody of their children within the ASFA's 15-month provision because of challenges created by extreme poverty should be able to argue a viable disparate impact challenge to termination. I mean, because when it's all said and done, when you're a mother or a father that's single with your child, if you have to live under the bridge, the child live under the bridge with you. The child has to suffer the condition of the parents, but that don't mean that the child doesn't have love. It doesn't mean that the parents don't wash the one pair of pants that the child has. It's so many things and so many emotions that go into reading this to know that these are the kind of things that people are losing their children for. And, we always want to look at the abuse, and the abuse is bad when it's abuse. But this is just like just losing your children for being poor. It's just a different auction block, it sounds like to me. And that's just one woman's opinion. A different auction block. Another way to challenge the constitutionality of terminating the parental rights of Black parents is through the Due Process Clause. In Santosky v. Kramer, the Supreme Court held that the Due Process Clause of the 14th Amendment requires at least clear and convincing evidence in a proceeding to terminate parents' rights to their children. The court noted the evidence presented at termination hearings is very subjective. Very subjective. Value judgments are often included in appraisals of the nature and quality of the parent-child relationship. Additionally, the agency's power in the vast majority of cases is far greater than parents' best efforts at defending themselves. The Supreme Court held that because the process is highly susceptible to error, It is entitled to heightened procedural protection. The court therefore concluded that proof by preponderance of the evidence is inappropriate and termination requires at least the intermediate standard of proof, clear and convincing evidence. Instead of the clear and convincing evidence standard, the court dictated in Santosky a more appropriate standard of proof would be proof beyond a reasonable doubt. That's the same as in criminal matters. The reasonable doubt standard is used in criminal matters and stems from social concern regarding the risk of error. Criminal conviction results in incarceration and a deprivation of physical liberty. In order to subject an individual to such severe punishment, our society demands this heightened reasonable doubt standard of proof. The Supreme Court has stated the risk of error to the individual must be minimized even at the risk that some who are guilty might go free. Termination of parental rights is comparable to a criminal conviction and should require the reasonable doubt standard of proof. In Santosky, the court admits the termination proceeding bears many of the, I think that's in indicia. I might have said that wrong, but I'm going to say indicia of a criminal trial. Comparing incarceration to a termination of parental rights, Justice Stevens commented that often the deprivation of parental rights will be the more grievous of the two. Incarceration is usually only for a specific period of time, while termination is irreversible and severs the familial bond forever. Therefore, society should demand the strictest standard of proof before severing familial bonds. Congress did apply the reasonable doubt standard of proof to the termination of parental rights in the Federal Indian Child Welfare Act. The ICWA was enacted because Congress recognized the problems associated with excessive state intrusion in Native American families. Wonder why? One and the same. There's a whole title written for the Indians. It's Title 25. You should check that out. The legislation assures parents the procedural. Okay, no, I think I skipped a line. The ICWA takes the viewpoint that the best interest of the child is to remain with his or her family. The legislation assures parents the procedural protection of assistance of counsel and removes a child from the home only upon the ultimate finding, established by proof beyond a reasonable doubt, that continued parental custody would probably result in serious damage to the child. Congress understood that removing Native American children from their families resulted in the general destruction of Indian culture, but demonstrates no such understanding when it comes to Black families and culture. Wonder why? The ICWA adopts the position that it is in the best interest of a Native American child to remain with his or her family and implements this presumption through jurisdictional provisions. In contrast, the ASFA takes the position that adoption, often to white homes, is in the best interest of Black children. How could that be? Has anything really changed politically, socially? The ASA, the ASFA devalues black families by severing the bond between black children and their parents under the guise of achieving permanency in the lives of children. The legislation terminates parental rights and makes adoption, instead of reunification, its priority. The ASFA provides financial incentives to terminate the rights of black parents and place their children up for adoption, but no financial support for programs to reunify their families. Family is the foundation of a community. Preservation of black families is essential to the advancement of the black community. By destroying black families, the ASFA disrupts the political power of the black community and prohibits the community from transferring culture and a sense of identity to future generations. Furthermore, the ASFA's termination of parental rights raises issues of constitutionality on substantive and procedural due process and equal protection grounds. The child welfare system must take into account the disproportionate effect and destruction the ASFA has on the black community. A shift in the focus of the system, with legislation directed at addressing the underlying social ills that are the root of foster care. So maybe one of the questions we may need to ask our representatives when they're running for office, what do they feel about this act? What is their position? So, the last sentence again: legislation directed at addressing the underlying social ills that are at the root of foster care dependence is essential. Respect for the familial bonds between black children and their parents must be supreme. Our child welfare system must focus its efforts on family preservation and reunification instead of permanently severing the relationship between black children and their parents. That concludes that study. I think that's really something good to know, because that's just something else that we can really ask our people that are running for office. What do they stand for? We only know one or two things to ask them what they stand for. But if we keep researching and if we keep learning, it may be nothing that we can do, but it could be something that we could do. I thank everybody for hitting the like button, and everybody in the bushes that hit the like button. I greatly appreciate you. I haven't seen more than 7 people, maybe 8 in the chat, and I have 14 likes. So that's really, really, really great for me. And I may now just be talking to the bushes and the trees, but that's fine. Hardin said, I have been saying this for years. African Americans are kept on the Democratic plantation. Easy handouts, food stamps, and welfare in general prevents low-income people from trying to excel. Some of that I can agree with, Hardin. Some of that I can't agree with, because a lot of people, believe it or not, that are impoverished don't even qualify for housing. The restrictions on welfare is so unreal that they don't qualify for the food stamps, and certainly not the AFDC. That a lot of people believe that, but I don't think we would have so many homeless mothers with children and fathers with children if It was easy. That's the perception that's out there. And if you go back and look at the beginning series about, I guess maybe last Sunday or so, when I started talking about this, then you would see, because it's written in all of their studies, they know that what the view of the people are is not real, but they have to keep this facade because they must keep us divided. And so it's easy to transfer from poor to being black. And so the blacks are taking up the welfare system. But I would agree with you on that plantation deal. And as far as that goes back to the Organic Act of Congress. And most of us, you dozed off. I'm glad you're back. But that goes to the Organic Act of Congress, 1871. I really believe in not, just calling out stuff and just saying stuff, but I just don't think that we should be censored to the point. And they claim that we have free speech, but unfortunately, the only ones who's protected is the YouTube platform, and all, not just YouTube, all social media platforms are protected from any suits of harm because of what is being said on their platform, because of all of the monies that's involved. But it's ironic. They can be protected, but if we're saying something that could really help somebody, we could be considered saying something that is not for a real information. They call it misinformation, or they could consider it hate speech, or whatever they want to deem it as. That's what they can use against you. And because we don't own platforms, and nobody does outside of the system that's in place, uh, then we have to pretty much conform to their rules. But the only thing is, you don't really know what their rules are, because again, some of the things that they accuse you of is so ambiguous. You don't really know what they're talking about. But one thing I know is I used to work for the Department of Health and Human Services in Dallas, Texas, and I was an eligibility specialist. And one thing that I knew before I started working for them, it was actually when I was pregnant with my son, and I used to go to the offices because I too went to the welfare office. I was not working at the time. I had left my husband, and so I did what you would do when you're pregnant. And I had him, although, and I noticed there were a lot of Hispanic families. And I said, damn, we gonna need to learn how to speak Spanish. And actually, I took Spanish for 2 years in school, but I didn't learn much. I know hola, ¿qué tal? I know cómo se llama. I just know some very, 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 very basics. I didn't really get it because she just taught us, phrases. She didn't really teach us about the alphabets and the sounds and stuff like that. And that was my first year. And so by the time I was in my second year, I was like in advanced Spanish. And I couldn't do nothing but go to sleep in that class because I sure didn't know what that woman was talking about. And she studied in Spain. It was really something. I just couldn't grasp it. I wished I would have learned the fundamentals, the basics, when, we were, in the first year. But it didn't happen like that. So I can say just enough to be kind. I can ask ¿Qué hora es? What time is it? I can tell them my last name. Mi apellido is. And I can ask ¿Dónde vives? Where do you live? I can do little stuff like that, but if we had to have a conversation, I'd be in trouble. I really would be. But one of the things is we're going to have to, as a people, continue to be entertained, have all the fun you want. But if we truly believe the children are our future, we're going to have to really start learning something to teach our children. It's not enough to know how to spell your name and to know where you live and to be able to add 1 plus 1 equals 2. It's not enough. There are things that is going to affect the lives of each child, and they need to be prepared. We give them tablets, computers, phones, some of the most expensive games in the world, but we really don't look at their education. Some of that is because we don't know what we don't know, but it is too many platforms telling us. Now you have to, as my son tell me, use the discernment to decide what you're going to go with. That's your choice. But you at least have to seek knowledge. For it is written, my people are destroyed for the lack of knowledge. Destroyed by the day. And we see the self-destruction. We see what we do to one another. We gotta do something different. We really have to do something different. And all I can do is just drop the seed, and what you do with it is up to you. And that is how I know to be, is I have to tell it. And then what you do with it is totally up to you. And I know that my day ones, thank y'all so very much. Probably tired of saying, she say the same thing over and over. That's what my son tells me all the time. But repetition strengthens and confirms. We learn by way of repetition. We really do. But you want to get it down and you want to get it right because you want to pass it on. You want to do that. That's true, Alicia. That's all. And it's so much information out here. You just have to start wherever you're interested. There is no correct formula. You just start wherever you're interested. I want to give a shout out to T.Y. Ray. He got his second channel monetized today, and he celebrated this morning the monetization of his channel. And so that's a great thing to celebrate. Great things are happening, believe it or not. And it doesn't matter the size. Quality is always a good measuring rod. Of course, quantitative too, but quality is always a good measuring rod. And I have some beautiful quality people that spend their Wednesdays and Sundays with me, and I greatly appreciate it. I haven't decided yet if I want to or if I'm going to come on Christmas Eve. If you're like me, you don't really have babies, so you don't have anything to do special, but some people may spend Christmas Eve with their families or whatever. So I probably just come on and say some words. But we finished that study, and it is the federal mandate. And I was trying to see if it gave me the link. I don't know if this is. I think I don't know. It might be the link here. Let me see. I was trying to see what I'm doing. I don't know if I don't know what I'm doing, y'all. So I'm gonna leave that alone. I'm gonna try it offline, and then if it works, then I'll just go and drop it in the link next time. I tell Maria. Maria, I know went to work, and Regina said she'll be right back. But unless anybody have something else they want to say, then we can get ready to call it a night. I greatly again appreciate all of you guys and your likes and you staying with me for this information. If we don't see each other again before Christmas, have a Merry Christmas and a safe holiday season. Enjoy yourself. Sometimes this can be some of the saddest times of the year. Uh, a lot of people lost loved ones during this time of year, or they lost loved ones for the first time. They're celebrating a holiday without them. There's so many different reasons. Just being poor and seeing all the things that people can do. Sometimes it can bring you down. But remember, it's all about the mind. And it's all about what you tell yourself. You don't have to lie to yourself. You can just believe in yourself. Hey, Angie, you always show up right before we get ready to go off. How's it going? I hope all is well with you and your family. But, whatever you need to feel, I always tell people to feel it, whatever it is. And as long as you're not harming yourself or anyone else, then do whatever you need to do. I always suggest if you need to scream, scream. And if you live in a place where just can't scream, then go in the bathroom, cut the water on as high as you can. And that's kind of like a place where you can scream, just like if you're in there singing. You've been sick? I didn't know you were sick, Angie. I'm glad to hear you're getting better. And if you can't sing or scream in your apartment, go in your car, turn up your radio. You can go to a secluded area like a park or a lake, but you kind of want to be careful about that because there's so many people that have so many issues. I call it trauma, unresolved trauma. And a lot of us have unresolved trauma. I think that's why a lot of us are here. all of the people that play on people, sympathies, play on their stories. That was one thing that I noticed about that young guy, Christian. Um, One thing about people that are predators, they seek out people with past such as his. Some people past are worse than others, but all of us come from a place of pain or hurt. And when you meet people, you think that you're being uh, friendly with them, and you think they're being friendly with you. So you share things with them that you might not share out publicly, but you share it with that individual. And some things you would share with anybody. But a lot of times they look for the vulnerable ones. It's just like the children that's playing, the predators, they look for the kids that play alone or that walk back and forth to school alone. Or they could be with a family, but they're standoffish and they go to themselves and play. They look for those type of signs. And then if you confide in people and then you're telling them, you're thinking that they care, but they're just gathering data. That's giving them strategy on how they're going to use, abuse, or mistreat you. They're not doing it to be your friend and to comfort and to uplift and support you. That's not what they're doing. And that's unfortunate, but that's what happens. And the trauma that one faces with sexual abuse. I haven't read the second part of the sexual abuse chapter, and I guess I'll read and put that video out because it's so devastating and it's almost like a life sentence if you really don't get help. Because, I got help, but you still deal with certain feelings and thoughts and emotions. And I think he said he has a therapist or whatever, so he's gotten help. But you really have to get some help to help you process that level of betrayal, whatever that level of betrayal is for you as an individual. But I believe it's a lot of these people like that on this place. Even with the adoption, I believe it's a lot of them here. And that's why, hurting people hurt people. Because we've all been hurt before. But we don't just go out trying to take a person off. And I don't mean just off YouTube. They want to remove you from existence. And that's unfortunate. There is no amount of anything that should consume you to the point where you want to consume another person. Nah. You have some deep rooted problems and you need help, whoever you are. The Federal Reserve notes just make life easier for you to do whatever it is you want to do. But make no mistake about it, there is no money. The value that's given to that is the value that's given to that. And at any time it could change. Just listen to the stock exchange and listen to how they say the dollar has gone down to what? It's so much that we didn't learn. And I would love for us to get it all in one setting, but we won't. Some of us will never get it. And they have a saying in recovery, some must expire so that others can live. And if you believe it's appointed once for man to expire, since they don't want us to say die, but die is a real word and a real state of being. And after that comes the judgment. I don't know why advertisers wouldn't want to hear that if they have Christians or Catholics or Muslims, because we all know that we're all going to leave here one day. We all are at some time or another. And I'm so glad that no one on or off YouTube determines when I leave this earth. Not by will, not by might. Because all my life, when I grew up reading and believing as a Christian, I was taught, fear not the one that can destroy the body, because that's all they can destroy is the body. But your fear, reverence, love come from that one that can destroy the body and the soul. That spirit man. You know, the one that gave you the spirit, blew breath into you. That one. And that one could be a her. Duality. Remember? Duality. The book is in the chat. And I don't know, with my chat going so slow, it may be there or they may be gone. But Maria did drop the link for the book. So I think it's still there for anyone who wants to listen to it. The man reads it. He does a beautiful job. He reads the book. And so you can just stroll up if you want to see it. I don't know if I can copy it. Let me see. I'm going to see if it let me copy it. And you can listen to it over and over and over again. Stop it, take notes. I think if you listen to it enough, I don't know, this might be it. I don't know if this is it or not. This might be mine. I don't know. I'm going to put it in there and see what happens. I don't know if that's it or not, y'all. And it didn't do like Maria's link because I couldn't hit it and go into it. So I don't know what I'm doing, but I tried. I tried. Oh, here it is over here. Let me see. Oh, no, y'all, that's gonna take y'all to me. Nah, that's mine. That's not it. I tried. Boy, I do some of the funniest stuff. I ain't lie. This stuff be tickling me. I tried to get it. Maybe I can get it over here. Y'all, please, anybody who's here that hasn't signed up to ASFA, his link is in there. Please sign up to Ask. I think you would enjoy him. He comes on early in the morning, though. But I think that you will enjoy his show. He's just being ASFA. And the beautiful thing is he talks from logic and not emotion. And it's very good to hear and to see. Okay, there you go. There it is. If anybody want to get that and save it. That's the Kybalion, and I tell you, it will really, really, really. Once you start listening, and I guess everything is more or less like a programming or something, because repetition is what we do things by. So you could call it a positive one or negative one, whichever one you want to call it. But that's how you learn when you keep familiarizing yourself with something. Stop calling me. So at least he's losing his mind. He think you're Kamani. ah, that was funny this morning. That was so funny. And say he a troll. The troll got trolled this morning. That was so funny. Estor was trying to be cool. he got tired. He got tired of he's so cool and calm. He even said he'd go talk to the man on his lake. Now that show was funny. And the funny part about it is I believe he gonna do that. ah, but it is what it is. It's the Christmas time of year. So again, if you're feeling bad and feeling low, feel your feelings. Try not to stay there. Try to think upon something that brings you joy. That's not right, Esther. You'll get around to it. You always forgetting. But I don't know. I did a video for my members, and I put a lot of my favorite um, songs that I love when I loved gospel songs, because I still love every last one of those songs. And I put a lot of my favorite songs in there. And a lot of them are songs for healing. And I put my favorite Christmas songs in there. And by far, the Jackson 5 Christmas album is my favorite Christmas album. And so I put the majority of those songs in there in my description. And then I put, what was it? I put Off the Wall. That was for New Year's. That's my favorite Michael Jackson song. I guess y'all probably could tell that because I put it in there about 6 different ways. I didn't know they had so many different ways of Michael Jackson's Off the Wall. They had the acapella version, the chopped and screw version, the screw version, uh, a jazzy version. I'm like, man, I didn't know they had all these off the walls, and I loved every last one of them. So I put every last one of them in there. But that's how we should live life. Live it off the wall. Life ain't bad at all. So you just sometimes got to put that 9 to 5 up on the shelf and just enjoy yourself. Doesn't matter if you're at home or if you decide to go out, but enjoy you. Give yourself some me time. A lot of times we don't make time for me, but we got to give ourselves some me time. And I thank you all for being here for me. And on that note, I'm going to find us a song. And we started out with the children being our future. We're going to end it with the family affair because it is a family affair. And speaking on family, there was a time when Jesus was in the temple And they were telling him his mother was outside and his brother was outside. And he posed a question: who is my mother? Who is my brother? And he answered the question that he posed. And he said, those that do the will of my Father. So that's who are your brother, your sister, your cousin, your friend, those that treat people right, who treat themselves right, who treat you right. Remember the law of the land, God's law, nature's law is if I don't harm you and you don't harm me, no harm is done. Man's law was codified and put into statutes, articles, acts. And we need to read them too. We should really read them because ignorance of the law is no excuse. And this is the only time of year when we speak of nativity, meaning the birth of Christ. We honor the matriarch, maybe we don't. But the womb of a mother is sacred. For all of us had to come through one to exist. Just think about that. I don't know what your relationship was like with your mom. I had a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful mom. But I always thought my mama was mean. All of my cousins and neighbors and everybody thought she was the sweetest, nicest lady in the world. And believe it or not, we were really best friends. I could talk to her and tell her any and everything. She thought I was her kind of child that had a little problem. But she loved us equally, even though she told us that she had to love us according to our needs. My mother was a hard worker. She was like Maria. She worked 2 jobs for a very long time. One was in her brother's shop. That's what they called it, the shop. Her brother was an entrepreneur. He was a veteran. And then she worked as a domestic engineer, is what we ended up calling them. They used to call them maids when we were growing up. Yeah, Alicia, probably so. My mother didn't cuss. She didn't drink. And she didn't start smoking until she was 35. I could not imagine what it's like to be without the love of my mother. Even though growing up very, very poor, we don't even have a clue that love is truly actionable. We always thought it was giving and what we receive and what people say. We didn't look at the things that they sacrificed for us. Our parents. We didn't even know anything about what they were going through, and that was a good thing because it's not something a child should have to deal with. Some of us did, had some pretty, pretty, pretty hard upcomings. And we don't want to diminish that at all. But you survived it if you're still here. And although you may be dealing with some issues, there is help available. You got to do like my son always tell me, and that is use discernment. And you may not find help on this platform, but it is help available. We're in the information age. And you don't have to self-diagnose. You know how you tell people something's wrong with you, and then they always got to give you the worst thing and tell you about the worst that they know of, somebody that had whatever they said you had, and this is what happened. And no, I go to the ones that are certified, specialists in their field, and they do well by me, and I am grateful. So, having said that, I just want everybody to know this is a beautiful time of the year for some, mainly me. Although my sister passed on my brother's birthday many years ago, 2003, actually, it was 20 years ago. Thank you, Alicia. They're playing basketball without that basketball. Get it, ass. They're playing basketball without that basketball. Right now, he's not doing his basketball commentaries, but he will be. And we know he's going to be great. I hope y'all saw his basketball video where he was making all them three. Uh, well, some of them was 3-pointers, but some of them looked like they were 6-pointers because he was half court. Looked like almost on the other side of the court. That's the toss pretty good when he warm up. Angie said, I couldn't go a day without hearing my mama's voice. I would freak out if she doesn't call me or answer any of my calls. I know how you feel, Angie. I was the same way. I was the same way. If I wasn't sitting right next to her on the couch. I had two partners at one point in time that we spent all our time over here. I didn't even go home. My mom used to sit on the couch when she came in from work. And then one of us would scratch her head. And she drank coffee. And we drank coffee and watched TV. But if I wasn't over here, you most definitely right. I had to talk 2 or 3 times. Sometimes I bet she probably really was tired of my ass. I mean, you know, what can I say? I was the baby girl, so. Yeah. I think I'm going to play A Mother's Love before I play our last song. If y'all don't mind. In a mother's love, you will find everything. Everything's alright. To a mother's love, you are bound. You can rest on sacred ground. In a mother's love, you are free to dream because she sees what you can be. In a mother's love, You see the sun, enough for two, but you're one in a mother's love. You can feel when something hurts. You can heal. Yes, a mother's love is real. You grow because she knows to let you go. Yeah, mama. Mama, mama, mama. Mother's love. Mother's love. Yeah. All right. A mother's love. And a mother's love never lies. She believes that you can fly with all of her might. A mother's love. Yay, mama. All righty then. I just felt a little feeling of nostalgia, reminiscing on my mama. And anybody who hasn't talked with their mother and she's alive, if you don't talk to her tonight because it may be a little late, give her a call tomorrow. Let her know you love her. She knows it. And we know love is actionable. But we sure like to hear it from time to time. I love you guys. Merry Christmas, everybody. I do believe I'm going to come on Sunday nights, but I don't know. I'll just see how I feel then, and we'll go from there. But we're going to end it with the family affair. And after that, I would have left the tiger's den. Goodbye. Did you know that mental health is a family affair? It's a family affair. It's a family affair. It's a family affair. It's a family affair. Well, one child grows up to be somebody that just loves to learn, and another child grows up to be somebody you just love to burn. Mama loves the both of them. You see, it's in the blood. Both kids are good to mom. Blood thicker than the mud. It's a family affair. It's a family affair. It's a family affair. Oh, a family affair. It's a family affair. It's a family affair. Nobody wants to blow Nobody wants to be left out. Uh-huh. You can't leave because your heart is there. But you can't stay because you've been somewhere else. You can't cry because you look broke down, but you're crying anyway because you're all broke down. It's a family affair. It's a family affair. It's a family affair. Well, it's a family affair. Hey, hey, hey.